Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. Tune in for a vibrant mix of fashion, finance, and life's essential foundations. Join us for expert interviews, insightful discussions, and empowering insights to elevate your lifestyle. From fashion trends to financial tips and personal growth strategies, we've got you covered. So, grab your headphones and get ready to be inspired. Tune in now to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show and embark on this exciting journey with us.
Welcome back to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence. Today we are with Steve Matley, and in this section we're going to talk about his teaching and what he's teaching his students. And I just heard that you went to Las Vegas because your students were in a competition.
That's right.
Share with the audience what that's all about.
Okay, well, so I will tell people up front, I'm an accidental educator. It was never my intent to be an educator. My dad was an educator and at a college, and I thought, that's the most boring job in the world. Why would I ever do that? And then I was never a good student. So I always tell people, like, I graduated high school in the half of the class that makes the top half possible. So I wasn't going to any college. Nobody wanted me. But I did go to a community college after high school as kind of transitioning. And I realized I actually could do it. I had kind of been told that I was probably the kind of person that wasn't meant for college. I should think about trades and those things. My high school guidance counselor kind of guided me that direction. I will say to any guidance counselor out there, even if that's where a kid's bent goes, don't tell them they can't. Tell them, here's some options you have if you want to do something different, but don't tell them they're too stupid to go to college. So, which is essentially what I was told. So,
Wow.
I went to community college and I did okay, and then I realized, I could transfer to a four-year university that has a local satellite. I was in a town that didn't have a lot of universities. And so I transferred to there, and I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in business. I took a couple years off, and then my dad, he said, look, I will pay for your first 2 terms to get a master's degree to get you started, because he knew that once I start something, I tend to finish it. He just needed to get me going.
Right.
And so, he paid for that tuition in those books, and that's really the only financial aid I ever had going through school. But he was right. I pursued that, and I stayed with it. So I ended up getting the degree, and I did earn my honors and that kind of stuff. Well, then I had my whole career. I had all this stuff going on, and then my partners and I were doing the development business in the 2005 or so. Things started well, they hadn't slowed down yet. My partners and I had decided to stop doing new projects and stop taking capital and finish up what we had back in early 2005, expecting a downturn.
Oh, wow.
We were a little ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean we're geniuses? No, I didn't go publish the book. I'm the guy that predicted the downturn, although a lot of people have done that. No, my partners are older and wiser than I am. They've been around the block a few times, and so they've seen this. And there were signs out there, and we were a little bit premature. We probably could have waited a little longer, but our projects take a while. So we finished out through 05 and 06, sold our last project in November of 06, and then, of course, everything hit the skids in 07, right?
Right.
And I briefly, during that time, went to work for a public, not a public builder, just a private home builder, doing their forward planning and stuff as a transition. But in the meantime, there was a guy that I met through a Toastmasters club, and he was a retired pharmaceutical guy, and his dream was to design ultimate custom homes for celebrities. This is where he wanted to do
That's
with
a
his
pretty
retirement.
specific goal.
Yes. And so he was kind of working with me as kind of a consultant. He kind of, talked to me, and we were meeting at a Starbucks up in Temecula, I believe. And while we're talking, he stops and he goes, you know a lot about this stuff. And I said, well, I hope so, because I'm charging you for this meeting. He laughed and he goes, there's this school up near Ontario, and they've been for about a year talking about and trying to start a construction management program. And I think they need some help. You should talk to them. And so I said, well, give me the contacts. And my thought was advisory board, right?
Right.
Give you this is kind of what they need to learn to get employed. And so I went up and talked to the president of the school, and they should pick my brain fully. I mean, just all the stuff. And then I didn't hear anything for a few weeks, and I thought, okay, well, there's nothing coming out of that. And I just called them before I was leaving town on vacation and said, hey, look, no pressure, but just letting you know I'm going to be out of town for the next week. But if you need anything, let me know. And the lady goes, oh, you are on my list to call. The president needs to talk to you again. Can you get up here tomorrow?
Oh,
and
wow.
I said, sure. So I drove up there, and she talked to me a little more, and then she kind of did this, have you ever worked in education? No. Any experience with it? Well, as a student, that wasn't that great. Do you think you could design this program? Well, I don't see why not. And so that was kind of my answer.
That's
Sure,
good.
I could do that, right? And so I said, but here's the deal. I can give you the content and what I think the students need to learn and figure out what classes to do, but I'm not an academic, so you need someone to write all the stuff for accreditation. I don't do that. She goes, we have a team to do all that. You just need to do that.
Okay.
And I said, okay. So I started that. And then I designed this program. It was a 2-year associate's degree program in construction management. At that time, there wasn't another accredited one of those this side of New Mexico. Now there's quite a few. There's several of them. But at that time, there wasn't, and there had never been an online one in 2-year degree anywhere.
Was
we
this one
designed that
online?
On ground and online. I did both.
Wow.
We did them concurrently. And I did the whole thing in 90 days, and I sent it up to them, and then because that was my goal, they sent it back and they said, this is great, but you're really fat on the credits. I go, what do you mean? They go, well, you've got like a lot of credits in here. You got like 90 some odd credits. And I said, and what does that mean? And they said, well, you know, an associate's degree is about 60 credits. I said, no. I said, well, you have an associate's degree. I said, yeah, but I didn't count credits. I went to school till they said, congratulations, stop going to school. That's the way I did all my programs. I didn't care how many credits they were.
Right.
And so they said, no, you got to be about 60. And so I went and started shoving 15 pounds in a 5-pound sack to shrink it down.
Right.
But I really was kind of struggling with, but this is what they need to know. So I kind of just made it tougher. And then I condensed it, and I got it down to 67 or 68 credits. And they said, that's close enough for us. And so then they pushed it through WASC, the accrediting committee, got it accredited because the school was already accredited. And so that was 120 days after I had showed up the first day with an idea. Now, I didn't know that education takes forever. I come out of a construction business. Delay is disaster.
No, it takes forever. I'm trying to change education.
Yeah, delay is disaster. They thought I walked on water because nobody gets it done this quick. And I thought I was 30 days behind my schedule, right? And so we had I started August 1st at that school, and in the second week of January, we sat our first students in that program, the fully accredited program. And so I ended up running that program for, I don't know, I was at that school about 8 years, and actually I at one time became the dean of the school, which I thought was hilarious when I think back to my high school guidance counselor. Thinking, boy, that guy would... He would think
that's great.
The whole world's turned upside down now. Exactly. He's sure hell froze over. Yeah, that was hilarious. So the fact that it was crazy, but it was a great great recession hobby, honestly, because again, the industry was slow at that time, right? There wasn't a lot going on, and it was a lot of fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had no idea I would enjoy teaching students that much. And so I ended up helping California Baptist University when they started their program. I helped that program director launch a few classes, primarily so I could articulate my 2-year program over to their 4-year. Because one thing I did for my students, because I knew that a 4-year degree was very valuable to them, I had about 8 different schools that I set up articulation agreements so the 2-year degree could go to them and they could turn it into a bachelor's degree if they wanted it to.
And that came from your personal experience.
Yes, exactly, because that's how I went. Community college to 4-year, exactly.
Right.
And so it was kind of designing it the way I wish things had been when I went through, And so it was an easy, they don't have to take credits and leave credits. It comes as a package. Here's 60 credits automatically for your bachelor's degree, and then you finish it up, right?
So as part of the program, you spoke about a capstone.
Okay, yeah. So I ended up at New School of Architecture and Design. So when I moved to San Diego from the inland, I assumed I was done with education. And I was here not even 2 weeks when I got a phone call from a guy. And he said, hi, my name is George. I run the program, a construction management program at New School. I said, New School doesn't have a construction management program. I did the research. He says, no, it's fairly new. It's only been here a couple years. I said, okay, that didn't exist when I was designing one. He goes, nope. And he says, so we've launched a bachelor's degree and we just started a master's degree in it too, but the master's degree is online. He says, somebody who knows me knows you and said, you know how to teach college classes in construction management. And I said, I do. He says, can you teach a class for me in the winter term, starting in January? And I said, okay, what is it? He said, commercial construction. I said, I can do that. So I went there to teach one class for one term. And then, of course, you have to deliver your CV or your resume to them, right? Well, then he sees that and he's like, well, hot diggity dog, this guy can teach all kinds of stuff, right? So then he starts just scheduling me for classes, term after term after term. And eventually, when he decided to step back and retire, he didn't ask me, he voluntold me to run the program.
Wow.
He basically said, you're the next program, the next head of the program. I said, do I get a choice? He said, no.
I just have to interrupt. You're basically a yes man. You have said yes to all of these opportunities that come your way.
Well, here's the irony about that.
And half of the time, you didn't know what you were getting into.
If I want to do it. So here's the irony about that. I say no to a lot of things. I have no problem saying no to a lot of things because I need my schedule clear. However, when opportunities present themselves, and if those opportunities align with kind of my personal purpose, mission, who I am, what I am, why I exist, And where I'm going as far as my vision goes, where if it gets me closer to where I'm going, even if it's nothing I had never considered, I'll jump on it. I'll do it if I find it interesting. And education was something I found extremely fulfilling, very interesting. It kept me tied to an industry that I really wouldn't have been otherwise, because more the development side isn't really connected to the commercial or residential construction side as much if you're just doing the land. So yeah, I ended up running the program. Well, now I teach a full-time load, right? So I ended up teaching the capstone class when the teacher who had taught the capstone left. So the capstone class is where they take all the stuff they've learned in 4 years and put it all together, right? All the pieces of the puzzle now have to create a picture.
Right.
So I actually, one of the first things I did was change the capstone to a fall term when all the competitions were, because I had students that wanted to do competitions. And I realized, you're doing a whole integrated project here for a competition, and then you're doing a whole one over here for a grade.
Oh, so yes,
And
that
you're
just
busy
makes
students.
sense.
And I don't have to now come up with projects, because industry associations that run these programs, these competitions, they have project plans and RFPs and outlines and constraints. I just need to adjust it to make sure that the course learning outcomes are met as well as the competition outcomes, right? So I have a slight, they do basically two slightly different versions, but not hugely different versions of the same project, because and the one in class, they're going to do probably an hour-long presentation with almost an hour of Q&A, and the competition, they'll do about a 10-minute presentation with about 10 minutes of Q&A, right? So and that's actually not a bad thing. Can you take this project and boil it to its essence and present it and get a win out of it, right? And so I asked them, the students, what would you want to do for your capstone? And like this last year, I talked to them in the spring term last year, the ones that were going to be seniors this year, and they said, we'd like to do a residential custom home competition.
And
I said,
with
you're
that,
on.
it's time for a break.
Okay. All right.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.